This is the Viatek battery charger. They call it the Renu-it Pro model RE02. I purchased this thing at a local thrift shop for all of $3. I have a number of battery chargers already, but this one intrigued me because it says it recharges NiCads, nickel metal hydrides, and alkaline? Really? This thing recharges alkaline batteries. Well, that's intriguing. I've always been taught that alkaline batteries are not rechargeable. The chemical reaction is not fully reversible, it seems, and they will produce hydrogen gas and build up pressure and cause leaking and all that sort of thing. Now, back in the 1990s, there was a kind of a rechargeable alkaline. It was called a RAM battery, RAM. It stood for rechargeable alkaline manganese, but when nickel metal hydride batteries came along, there was no further market for the RAM batteries. Now, I'm a big believer in nickel metal hydride batteries. I put them in pretty much everything. And they are designed to be recharged, and they have come down so much in price. You can get nickel metal hydrides for really not much more than the cost of alkalines. I have here some nickel metal hydrides I recently purchased on Amazon. They are branded with the Amazon label, Amazon Basics. These are AAAs. I got them for about $1 a piece. Now, if I can get nickel metal hydrides for $1 a piece that I can recharge over 100 times, why would I buy alkalines? Now, there are a few applications where you do need alkalines. You know, these nickel metal hydrides only have a voltage of 1.2, and alkalines have a voltage of 1.5. And there will be instances where you have equipment which demands that higher voltage. But most equipment, particularly newer equipment, will work just fine with 1.2 volt batteries. Now, I have a whole pile of old alkaline batteries that I've been sort of saving up, I guess. I was planning to eventually dump them off at my local electronic recycling place. But I've sort of hung on to them for years now. I've got, oh my goodness, probably over 100 of them. So I thought I would test out our battery charger and see how well it worked. Now, this battery charger does come with an external power supply brick. It's 12 volts, 1 amp. This battery charger will take AAA, AA, Cs, and Ds. Although the Ds are kind of a challenge to get in. And it also has a socket for a 9 volt right there. The first thing to do is to look at the voltage of the battery that you want to recharge. Let's bring over our multimeter. I'll look at this battery first, and it measures almost 0 volts. I'm taking 4 AA's here that have 0 or nearly 0 voltage on them. We're going to go ahead and turn that on, see what happens. Nothing. We don't even get red lights. So the machine is not even aware that they are in there. The voltages, these are 4 independent cells. They operate independent of one another. Let's just see what sort of voltages they give us. It's trying to push 3.7 volts. How about this one? 4.8. This one's getting, well, there's nothing going through there, huh? 4.8. 4.78. So this machine is pushing really hard, but there's just too much resistance in these batteries. I shall remove these batteries and replace them with 4 other batteries. Now I put 4 different batteries in here, again, batteries with 0 or very little charge. 2 of them are flashing red. That means they're bad. These 2, it's going to try to charge them. The ones that are flashing, I wonder what they're doing. 0.4 volts. 0.44. So those are putting out almost no volts. The ones with solid red, 1.4 and 1.25. So those are trying to push. So these 2 are pushing current. Ones on the end, they've given up. They're not even trying. So flashing red means your battery's bad and it's not even going to try to charge them. And let's look at the front here. Bad and bad. Now these 2 say charge, CHR. You see this sort of this icon of a battery trying to charge up. So it seems if the voltage on your battery is really low, it's probably not worth trying to charge it. There seems to be a lot of internal resistance. I suspect what's happening is the electrolyte in the battery is drying out. The electrolyte in these alkaline batteries is a potassium hydroxide aqueous solution, a very thick, almost slurry of potassium hydroxide. I believe over time it probably dries out and crystallizes and becomes solid, and therefore the resistance goes way up in the battery. I think that's what's happening. That's just my guess. In any event, these batteries are essentially not rechargeable. If we have batteries that aren't in terrible shape, this is what we should see. 2 red lights and this this image of 2 little batteries charging up. This thing operates on a trickle charge. It's putting in a very small amount of current over a long period of time. Now, good batteries, batteries that are in good shape, charge up very slowly. And it took, the first set of batteries I used took 12 hours to charge. And those seem to do pretty well. Those seem to have taken a fairly good charge. Now those batteries that charge up very quickly, like within an hour, I think those are batteries that are not in good shape. These go from red to green in less than an hour. Your battery is probably bad. It'll take a charge, but it isn't taking much energy. I think the electrolyte is drying out. And what I've noticed is when you measure the terminals of the charger, you get a voltage that's higher than 1.5, sometimes a lot higher, sometimes as high as 2 volts. Those are batteries which I think are on their way out. They're taking a charge, but what I found is when you're done charging them, the voltage is below 1.5 and it falls off fairly quickly. And within an hour or two, it's down to 1.3 or 1.25. Now those batteries that charge up very slowly, like over a 12-hour time period, those seem to have held on to their 1.5 volts for a longer period of time, although even those seem to drift down over time, back down to 1.4 or 1.3. Now this charger works on a trickle charge principle, at least when it's charging alkaline batteries. It puts in a very small current over a long period of time. The first group of batteries I put in there took 12 hours to charge. And those batteries seem to have held their charge fairly well. Now, when you put in a battery and it charges up very quickly, that is, the light goes from red to green in, say, an hour or less, those batteries don't do well when you take them out of the charger. Well, the first thing you notice, if you measure the voltage across the terminals, it's actually above 1.5, like these are, which means it's pushing against a resistance. When you take them out of the charger and measure the voltage, it's, even after the light turns green, You take them out of the charger, you'll find the voltage is below 1.5, sometimes quite a bit below. And these batteries, their voltage seems to drift down over the next couple hours. Whatever they might end up at 1.3 or 1.25 or something after a couple hours. They just drift down. And the amount of energy that they contain seems very limited. Now, the better batteries, when you put in better quality batteries that aren't so worn out, they charge up very slowly, they take a long time, and they hold on to their voltage a lot longer, although even those tend to drift down. So I'm not really sure how well we're really recharging anything here. I'm going to shut this off and try it and go ahead and restart it. Oh, look at that. Isn't that interesting? Now they're green. They've just been in here for a few minutes, and now I'm getting a green light. So these batteries are probably not taking, they're obviously not taking on much energy. There's probably a lot of resistance in here. Just curious, I'm going to look at the voltage at the terminals. 1.6, 1.45. So I will go ahead and take these out. Let's have a look at these outside of the charger. One puts down to 1.38. 1.56. We'll see how long it holds that. The thing is saying it's fully charged, and I'm only measuring 1.38 volts. So it seems to work on this device. Seems to have some sort of an algorithm based on a combination of voltage and current to determine whether a battery is chargeable or not, and if it is chargeable, when it is fully charged. And it seems to make mistakes. I think what we have here is a current source, and if it's pushing against a low resistance, it's going to read a voltage below 1.5 until it becomes fully charged. Now, if it has a high resistance, as I think these do, it's going to push that current, and at some point it's going to, because of the high resistance, it's going to hit a 1.5 volts. And it's going to trick this thing into thinking these batteries are fully charged when they're not. Now here I have a group of batteries. Here's a collection of 4 batteries that I charged 2 days ago. And they read 1.5 volts when they came off the charger. Let's see what we got now. 1.38, 1.38, 1.37. 1.38. So they have already lost a substantial amount of charge in just 2 days. And these batteries, these are the ones I thought were going to be good. I mean, these batteries took, the full 12-hour charge, and already they're down to the 1.38 region. Now, just so you can see that my voltmeter is accurate and really working, I'm going to take a group of good batteries that have not been used. These have been sitting on the shelf for a while, but are otherwise good unused batteries. And let's see what kind of voltage we measure. Good batteries. 159, 159. 159, 159. Again, I don't know if my voltmeter is totally accurate. Those numbers seem a little on the high side, but that's what I get when I measure batteries that are known to be good, known to be fully charged. Here we have another group that I charged 2 days ago, Rayovacs. Let's see what we got here. 1.4. 137, 133, 139. Again, that's significantly below a fully charged battery. And here we have another set that we charged 2 days ago, apparently. 143, 144, 142, 143. Again, significantly below a fully charged battery. Now I have taken the 4 active energy batteries and put them back in to the charger, and let's see what happens if we try to charge them up again. Interestingly, we get 4 green lights, and the LCD readout is telling us they're fully charged. Now, we know they're not. We know their voltage is below 1.5 volts, and yet this machine is telling us that they're fully charged. Now I put in the 4 Rayovacs that we just tested. And okay, we kind of rolled it around to get a better contact. Okay, now it says these 2 need a charge and these 2 don't. Okay, now in the 2 with the red lights, let's see. The 2 that are charging 153, 147. This really is hard to predict. It's kind of hard to see a consistent pattern in what this thing is doing. Kind of seems to be all over the place. Okay, well, it's been charging here for just a minute. I'm just going to hit the power button off and back on again, see what happens. Now it says this one is charged and this one isn't. Turn it off again. Try it again. Now this one's charged and this one isn't. So I don't really quite understand the logic of how this machine is working. It seems to be calculated. It tries to calculate current, voltage, or some combination, and it gets some sort of there's some sort of an error in its logic. Here we have 4 Duracell Pro batteries that we charged. 1.2. Those went down fast. 1.23. And this one here. 1.24. So those have lost quite a bit of voltage. And this one here is leaking rather profusely. Caustic potassium hydroxide coming out of the end of that one. Maybe we blew it open. Maybe the charging caused it to leak. Okay. Now we've got 3 green lights. Let's turn this. Let's go ahead and check the voltage on the batteries out of the charger. 1.28, 1.36, 1.33, and yet the battery charger is telling us that they're fully charged. Just one more time. And clearly those voltages are too low. 2 greens and this one is red. Now on the charger, what kind of voltages are we getting? Battery number 1. Wow, 2 volts. 1.65. 1.55. So these are batteries with a high internal resistance. And this, okay, now they're all green. Now it's trying to push against that high resistance. The machine is measuring the voltage here, and it thinks the batteries are fully charged when they clearly are not. The claims that this battery charger can charge alkaline batteries is questionable at best, and whether alkalines themselves can be charged is questionable. Now, what about nickel metal hydrides? Remember to pull that switch, that's important. I'm going to take a couple of these are nickel metal hydrides that are very close to the end of their life. They've developed a very high internal resistance. It's saying that these batteries are good, when I know they're not. 1.4 volts. 1.4 volts, okay. Turn it off. Just turn it back on again. Now I get one green and one red. Now, my experience, the first time I charged some nickel metal hydrides, they charged very quickly and they became very hot. I mean, they were hot to the touch, it was hard to even hold them. They were so hot. And that's disturbing. You really shouldn't charge batteries that hard, but that's what this thing seems to do. So if I'm charging nickel metal hydrides, I don't think I'm going to use this charger. I mean, I have chargers that charge a lot more gently than that. I don't want to beat the hell out of my batteries by charging them too fast. Okay, I'm just going to power down and power back up. Let's see what we get this time. Now I got 2 greens. I know these batteries are not good, and their voltage is a little, but they've been on there for like a minute. Now I'm getting 2 greens. I don't know. It doesn't seem right. Now we're going to experiment with some nickel cadmium batteries. And I have, this is the last of my dwindling supply of NiCads. 126, 128, 127, 125. Okay, so all 3 of these batteries are fully charged. I really don't have many of these left. Back in the day, I used to have a lot of them. I've moved to nickel metal hydrides, and this really is the last. These batteries are at least 15 years old. And we'll see what happens when we put those in the charger. Now, of course, you have to be sure to flip that switch over to NiCad. Oh, there's just barely enough room to get these. That is tight. Barely enough room to get those in there. Now, it's interesting, the animation is running backwards. I've got three yellow lights. Isn't that interesting? I've got 3 yellow lights. So it's actually discharging the batteries. Now, presumably this is because of the memory effect. It's going to discharge them all the way down to 0 and then charge them up. I don't really think I need to do that, but it's interesting that it does that. The memory effect is a very controversial subject, and I've heard very differing opinions in both directions. Some people swear by it, and other people say it doesn't exist. But is it really necessary to completely discharge and recharge a NiCad every time? Boy, I kind of doubt that. I've never done it before, and I've used these batteries for years and years and years. Now, should you go run out and buy one of these things? Well, let's look. This thing is actually for sale on Amazon. Here's the page listing this thing. Viatek RE02 Renu-it Pro. Now we look at the customers who've rated this thing. Doesn't look like it's being rated all that well. And the price, whoa, $60, really? Plus $5.50 shipping. Ouch! Boy, that's a lot of money for a battery charger. Would I pay $60 for this thing? Absolutely not. So first of all, the very idea of trying to recharge alkaline batteries when they are prone to leaking, why would you risk ruining a piece of electronic equipment to try to salvage an alkaline battery that costs 50 cents? And does it even hold a charge? Well, it doesn't really seem to work that well. The problem is the batteries themselves. They aren't designed to be recharged, and they don't seem to take a full charge. And the device itself, at least with alkaline batteries, there's something wrong with the internal logic. It doesn't seem to know for sure whether a battery is really charged or not. So we saw cases where batteries were clearly undercharged, but this thing thought that they were fully charged. Other cases where we just simply, by cycling this on-off button, we could get we could get the light to change from red to green and then back to red again. A word about the 9-volt batteries. You can put a 9-volt battery in it. What happens is this red light up here lights up, indicating that it's charging. The animation does not work at all for the 9-volt battery. All you get is this red light up here. Now I've charged one of these 9-volt batteries up. The battery started at around 7.5 volts. It said 9 volts when it was finished, but a day later it said 8 volts. So again, I'm not sure about this whole idea about trying to charge alkaline batteries. Nickel metal hydrides have become so inexpensive, maybe twice the cost of an alkaline, but you could recharge it hundreds of times. It's pretty much all I buy anymore. So this whole concept of trying to recharge alkalines, I don't know, folks. I think it's penny wise and pound foolish. I think you're running a lot of risk. I think this machine is fooling you. It says it's charging when it isn't really. It says your batteries are charged when they're really not. Now, as far as charging nickel metal hydrides on this machine, I wouldn't recommend it. I think it's charging them way too fast. It's unless you need to charge the thing super fast. But if you don't, I would use a different charger that charges them up more slowly. I think that fast charging like that causes damage over the long run. And as far as nickel cadmiums, if you still use any of those, it forces you to go through a discharge, a complete discharge before it'll charge them. I don't know if that's really necessary. I guess if you're a firm believer in the memory effect, maybe. It just seems like the more you're discharging and recharging, I think the quicker you're wearing the battery out. That's my opinion. That's what I think is going on. By taking them all the way down and all the way back up again, I think you're probably shortening their life. Anyway, for $60, well, I don't think so, folks. I cannot recommend this device.